Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is time for Under the Radar. There it
Woohoo!
is. Look at those graphics.
That is
Are,
amazing.
are you
That should
impressed?
be in the Smithsonian. That is such a work of art. It's just beautiful.
Let's go ahead and pull this down. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. We got David Griggs with me, and joining us from Bracketeer.org, we have the one and only Rocco Miller. And Little other breaking news here. Rocco just flew in for the show, if I'm correct,
Oh,
Griggs. Am I
really?
right?
Yes. Do we? I heard a commotion outside. Let me see what.
Okay.
Look at that. Yeah, they're right there at the Under the Radar studios. Rocco's helicopter.
Yes. I mean,
Just flew in.
give Johnny the pilot all the credit in the world. I couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah,
This is amazing.
yeah,
There we go. The Rocco helicopter just landed. This
yeah.
is our Under the Radar show. Griggs, what the hell is Under the Radar?
The layman's definition is that it is the 23. Is that what it is? 22
22.
regular one. How many is it? I've lost.
22 is correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20. Yeah, 22 regular one bid leagues. I always feel the need to say there's no rule that says they only get one team. If the SWAT goes out and wins 70% of their conference games, they're going to get 7 and 8 teams. But more often than not, it is the leagues that really only send one team. So it's not the Power Four, which is the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC, and it's not the five other regular multi-bid leagues, which is the Big East, the A10, albeit maybe not this year, the Mountain West, probably not this year, the West Coast, and the American.
Good. Well done. What we like to do is go through these conferences in alphabetical order. And then we do a feature conference, which I generally choose a few minutes before we start the show. And tonight's feature conference, I thought I'd go with a league that's collectively is off to a pretty good start. Still three undefeated teams in this conference, actually. Let's see if we can get up here on the screen here. There we go. I thought we'd start maybe today with Conference USA, with Liberty, Western Kentucky, New Mexico State, all undefeated. Uh, Only one loss for three other teams there. And as you can see the scores there, we just saw tonight. I guess Jacksonville State actually lost tonight. They had been the fourth undefeated team.
Yeah,
They kind of
I'm
ruined
assuming.
that ruined that for me tonight. But um, and Sam Houston actually beating Wyoming late in the game also. Quick new feature there. You could see the games in italics there are actually games that are going on as we record this, so we can kind of keep a look at that. But
Oh, wow,
Rocco,
that is a
uh,
new feature.
uh, how about this conference so far?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a interesting dynamic to first of all have Delaware and Missouri State as part of the family here, but such is life in Conference USA's history, never really stays the same. It's always teams going and coming, and so we welcome the Blue Hens and the Bears this year. I think overall, like Liberty, of course, that's probably the top under the radar team so far. Statement home wins against Florida Atlantic and Charleston a couple weekends ago. And New Mexico State, started off with a couple of non-Division One games, but got their big game with rival and the much hated Lobos
Ooh,
from across the state, and did what they needed to do and got the home win. Took advantage of being at home this year, 76-68. Probably the highlight moment for all of Conference USA last week. And I think what Jason Hooten was able to do in the transfer portal was pretty impressive. Jamel Jones was one of the leading scorers in the Big West last year at Bakersfield. I expect him to lead New Mexico State in scoring this year. The main guy that I think is getting everybody's attention though is Anthony Rashishes. I think I'm saying that correctly. But he played at Sam Houston State 2 years ago for Jason Hooten and was one of his favorite players. Made an unusual move, Chad, to leave college basketball and go up to I believe it's McMaster University in Canada. Played 1 year there, and now they've reunited in Las Cruces. And in this particular win over the Lobos, Rashishes went for 16 points, made four threes in critical moments, I might add. Added three assists, had a very impressive analytics game with no turnovers. Ken Palm gave him the MVP award on the game. So, again, I like those two guys leading the Aggie program. I like Jason Hooten as a coach, and I think the fact that they're going 10 deep in a big game is also a really good sign for them being able to survive Conference USA. I think the most important thing to bring up in Conference USA is how crazy the travel is. And so anybody that assumes that Liberty's just going to show up and go 18-2 in this league is not being realistic. I don't think the league champion gets out of here with any less than three losses.
I would say about Reshevskis, I don't know how to quite pronounce it properly either. He is last in the NCAA in number of vowels in his last name, so that's a
Yeah. Uh,
Especially for an eight-letter word.
yeah, you
it's
mentioned
a
their
tough one.
yeah, you
Go ahead,
mentioned their win
Grace.
against New Mexico, their only D1 win so far, and the only meeting. This one used to play twice a year,
Yeah.
down to once a year. Is this, as they're reinstating it, did they just figure the home and home was too much? Or,
Yeah, I
like,
think well, it would we had the of course the
yes,
unfortunate incident a few years
yeah,
ago, and what they've agreed to do is if you're home in football, the other team is home in basketball. So for this year,
okay.
New Mexico is home in football, so they both get the revenue
Yeah,
opportunity. Yep.
there was talk, and this has always been a heated rivalry. It's not a big rivalry as far as the spotlight that's on it, but as far as the tension, I think when it just comes to the amount of heat between the two fan bases, it might not be BYU Utah heat, but it's up there. Maybe it's even worse. I don't know, but there were murmurings that they were going to shut this down for a little while because it was just getting too hot.
Well, I mean, there was
Yeah,
the incident, and that was a
yeah.
very unfortunate situation. Yeah,
And it was at both events. The bat, well, yeah, it initiated at the football game and spilled over to the basketball game.
yeah.
Yeah,
For those of you
Correct.
that
Yep.
missed that weren't with us on Monday night, we're breaking out these new screens here this season a lot more with where we got player stats and team stats and everything on the screen. So lots of extra information for you to look at as we go through these various teams also. But uh, I think the other story in the conference, Griggs, though, has been this Liberty team. Well, I
yeah,
guess it's two other stories, them and this Western Kentucky team who picked up another D1 win this week, had that nice win over Eastern Kentucky earlier in the year as well.
yeah. I thought that was a really nice win on the road against. Who are we talking about? You mentioned two
But
teams.
I bet you Liberty and Western Kentucky.
Okay, I thought that was a really nice win for Western Kentucky at Eastern Kentucky, a team that I think is going to win a lot of games at home, and that could get them some fanfare. Can we still do the dual screen like the Liberty and Western rivals side to side?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Because
Who would you like?
I mean, like we've got like so much technology on this show now. I can't keep up with it. The win against C of C was pretty good. They've blown out a few non D1s. You kind of hate that their schedule couldn't be a little tougher. I don't think it was from a lack of trying. They do have some notable opportunities come up, most notably at Dayton, probably. Um, I think they're good enough to make a run at the bubble, I guess, and this might be more of a Rocco question. Are the opportunities there? Like that is a small margin for error. Is it so small that it can't be done, minus
For
winning out?
for
I
Liberty.
think the
Yeah,
I think in reality, the road NC State game is a requirement, and
yeah,
that's a tough mountain to climb. Overwhelming talent at NC State at the current moment. But yeah, and I think if they win that, then of course they can afford to do what they're projected to do, which I would say is lose at Dayton and probably take about three conference losses. I think is fair. Even that's a lofty expectation. As I mentioned, the travel in this league is probably the most extreme anywhere in the country. They're located in Lynchburg, Virginia. They'll have to go to El Paso. They'll have to go to Springfield, Missouri. They'll go to Ruston, Louisiana. They'll go to Las
yeah.
Cruces. It's a lot to even ask for a team, and we're just sadly at a point right now with the committee that they are mainly leaning on metrics, and the metrics are not going to support a team like this.
Um, let's put the week ahead here for CUSA. Um, that's why not that certain why we got a bunch of games in italics that come up on Wednesday. So all the little bugs have not been quite fully worked out from that new the new scores, but those are the upcoming games for for
Yeah,
the week here. That the games are correct. It's just
Chad,
weird that it's in italics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's still a week from when we're
Yeah.
recording this, but Western Kentucky isn't taking the court until the battle for Atlantis. But I think, opening with Vanderbilt will be a chance to punch above their weight and at least compete. We'll find out quite a bit more about this Hilltopper team in at the Atlantis event. All 3 days they'll have very difficult matchups. So we'll certainly learn a lot there. FIU is going to host a very interesting tournament starting Monday, where they get James Madison and Omaha at home. You'd like to see at least one of those teams fall into the ocean on the side of the court. So, congrats to FIU for pulling that tournament off. And Middle Tennessee is in a very interesting event where I would say they might be fourth out of four on the power rankings entering, but they can really shake stuff up if they play well. They'll get Murray State in the first game. There's also McNeese and that loaded George Washington team we've been talking about on Mondays. And it's a full round robin. So Middle Tennessee, man, that's going to be a tough 3 games. And
And
that starts on Sunday.
and don't forget Liberty, interesting game against Vermont, I think, to start there.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
potentially Rhode Island or Towson in their event.
Right.
Not quite the event they need to be in if we want to talk bubble like Griggs wants to talk about them, but at
They're
least it's an interesting game
they're
here
going
on
to try to
Monday.
they're going to try to get to 29 wins the old-fashioned way. Teams they
Yeah.
can beat.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump back over to we just mentioned Vermont. In fact, good chance to jump back over to the America East here, where Vermont actually suffered that loss last night, Griggs, to Buffalo, and their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
But even though they've haven't looked great so far this season, I thought they've looked good enough, and they even played well in that game against a decent Buffalo team.
Well, yeah, Buffalo's still unbeaten so far, and I know we're 3 weeks in, probably exceeding preseason expectations. We'll get to Buffalo here in a little bit. In Vermont, there's two ways to look at this, and I think Chad had a good point. We've seen them sort of start off slow before and catch fire as the season goes on. And another thing is that if you can say that the season's been disappointment and your definition of disappointment is 4-1 overall, 2-1 in D1 games, and the one loss was a close game on the road to a team that's undefeated, then like that's good disappointment. Imagine how good they're going to be when they're not disappointing anymore. And what's disappointing is my Black Bears.
Yeah, Maine on its way to their fifth loss already this season here. They're a minute away from losing to Merrimack as we record this.
Oh,
Rocco,
it was
I'll tell
fun. Wasn't it fun though? Wasn't last year fun?
we might have a story brewing here regarding a Lowell team that has looked really bad so far this season. But as you
Awful.
can see on the screen there, with still plenty time to go in the game. They're leading Bradley on the road as we record this by 4 points, which almost boggles the mind because I thought Bradley was a pretty good team at the MVC. But Rocco, is there
Yeah.
something wrong with Maine, or is it just that they're playing the wrong opponents and we should wait for conference play?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had the easiest of schedules.
They're losing to Merrimack.
I think they lost to Merrimack. Isn't that
Oh,
over?
yeah.
It has almost gone final. I got like a
Yeah.
minute left of the game, but they're down big enough. Yeah.
I mean, playing at Rutgers and George Washington, you're of course expected to lose those, being bigger schools, way bigger budget. Stony Brook's been a little bit of a surprise, so I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that too. And then Quinnipiac and Merrimack. I mean, yeah, I mean these are just tough games right now. I think eventually Maine will sort it out, but you would be hopeful after last year. They did make progress as a program. Seems like a
Massive
semi
progress.
step back so far, but there's a lot of games left to be played. And I don't think losing on an individual level out of the 5 games they've played, losing any of those, I don't think it's a deep concern. I think the overall theme of the America East, Chad, is this is a pretty bad league. Um,
Yeah.
Binghamton, no Division One wins. Lowell, none before today. We'll see if they pull off the upset. Bryant only one. They've been pretty bad. Albany 0 and 3, and these are just D1 numbers. New Hampshire, of course, 0 and 4. NJIT's been like the big surprise. They have 3 D1 wins.
Until last night when they got pasted by over 30 points by Drexel, which is
Yeah.
another one of
Yeah,
those. Yeah, yeah. You thought they had
Drexel will
still.
put you in a pretzel. That's what they say.
Uh, Upcoming this week, Vermont, I guess, is always a team that we kind of take a look at here. They've got that event with Liberty as well,
Yeah, yep,
and
yep.
then eventually potentially get, I guess, a UC San Diego potentially if they get that far. Um, I don't know what else we should really talk about in terms of upcoming this week. I think NJIT might be over their heads a bit. At Navy, winnable maybe, but at Cincinnati and at Louisville, probably not. Um,
No.
Definitely not.
Albany Siena is a great inner city rivalry
Oh, it
game.
is.
That's
That's
coming
a
up
fun
on
one.
Friday night. That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
yeah, that is a good one. Over in the A-Sun,
Woohoo! Love this league.
uh, Rocco, as we record this, the Battle of the Boulevard going on. So if anybody's
Yeah.
uh, watching
Lipscomb's
this
down
live,
by
which none of you are, you'd be
I've
able
got the
to see.
ticker. I've
Yeah.
got a screen here with the ticker. They're down
Yeah,
10 in the first half.
yes.
Yeah.
But
It's halftime.
it is halftime. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lipscomb, I mean, rebuilding under Kevin Carroll. Again, this is another league where I feel like the whole league's up for grabs. Maybe Gulf Coast the team to focus on. They did have a really convincing win over Chattanooga last weekend,
Yes.
and then I think again tonight
At
um,
Samford, yep.
at Samford. So really nailing that ASUN SoCon challenge, carrying the flag for the ASUN. So Gulf Coast probably getting deserves to get all the flowers right now.
Yeah, with the ASUN actually trailing by one game through tonight's games here in the challenge. I think there's like 20 some odd games of this challenge. This is a long way to go. Uh, Griggs, anyone else
Austin P.
you're even really looking at here? Austin P did win at Greensboro this past week, which was a decent win as well, I thought.
I keep wanting to like Eastern Kentucky, and they give me almost no reason to like them.
Okay, let's take a look at that Eastern Kentucky. Let's see, they beat Midway.
They
Uh,
did. Yeah,
that
presumably that's a school.
yeah,
Run off the court by Vanderbilt did not get a home win. I mean, it's not easy to win at Kent State. It's not easy to beat Western Kentucky. But out of the two of those, especially with one of them being a home game, you would have liked to have seen them win one. And in reality, like it Kent, they weren't really in the game.
they weren't. Now they got Mercer at home coming up. That might be winnable. At NKU, maybe. So there are
Yeah.
winnable games. They really don't have any real tough tests left non-conference. Maybe at
Yeah.
Wichita State there. That's about it.
Yeah.
One other note on the ASUN,
Mm.
in the North Alabama game last time out, their star Cornelius Williams double machine against Clemson in a game they were down pretty big. Went down with a really serious, appeared to be serious leg injury. If he's out long term, North Alabama was my pick to win this conference tournament. Obviously, without Cornelius in the lineup, if that's long term, it really shakes up the league.
Right. As far as the week ahead here in the conference, really if we're focusing in on Gulf Coast, hosting Oral Roberts, hosting Rice, hosting Kennesaw. Uh,
Kennesaw's not bad, but I mean, they should win all three of them, or they should win at least two of those. Oral Roberts and Rice are not good teams.
uh, Griggs, over in the Big Sky Conference,
Woo, woo.
uh,
Yes.
Yes.
where we almost saw some things happen here last night, including Montana took Texas A&M to the wire.
Yeah, A&M's really struggled since Bucky arrived, but yeah, that was one of the many near upsets last night.
Yes, many near upsets, but I think this Montana team is out to a pretty good start. Northern Colorado
Yeah,
3-0, two of them being against non-D1
yeah, two of
competition.
them 91.
The other one,
Good
but they
win at
picked up
Pepperdine.
the win
Yeah.
at Pepperdine, so Rocco, they were able to win in overtime on the road against probably the worst team in the West Coast Conference. So,
Potentially. We're still figuring that out.
yeah, we
Um,
are. Go ahead.
Pepperdine, a nice win over New Orleans last night. But
Yes.
I think the story of this season so far for the Big Sky, minus the Montana win at UNLV, which was tremendous last week, and of course competing very hard as you mentioned against Texas A&M, has been just those really close calls. Montana State was right in there for a big upset. I think at was that against Washington State, if I remember right. It
Boise
was
on
against
Saturday.
Boise. Yeah. They almost had that. Yeah, Weber going to overtime against Utah. In fact, Weber State's 0-3, but all three of their losses are heartbreakers. Idaho's
Yeah,
been very competitive. Eastern Washington's first three games all could have been big time upset wins, including UCLA. So just a lot of feistiness. Idaho State played Santa Clara last night, the toughest opponent Santa Clara's had all year.
yeah.
Um,
Santa Clara, the best team in the country, and
that's
played
right.
it pretty well. Yes.
They only lost by 8. So
Yeah.
I just think it's a good sign for the league. All these teams are feisty, playing hard, and I still have no idea who's going to win it,
Fair enough.
which is a good thing. Which is a good thing.
Upcoming this week, I think we got to really focus in on this Montana team just because that of the way they've played so far, and they do have the one big win for the conference. Pair of home
Grizz going
games.
out there.
Hosting
Uh,
the
Yeah.
Zootown Classic with Lamar and Greg Campy coming to town.
Yeah.
yep, and then Lamar and Oakland will also play each other as part of this event
Hmm.
as well out there. But that Oakland Montana game is pretty interesting coming up on Tuesday night,
Yeah.
so it's definitely one worth circling.
Yeah,
It
Greg, I
is.
just wanted to clarify, Greg Campy is coming to town with his team. It's not just him.
I also say
Uh,
Northern Arizona hosting an interesting event. Cal Poly coming to Flagstaff along with SEMO. That's the same exact format as the one at Montana. And last but certainly not least, Northern Colorado's heading to play 3 games in Portland, where they're going to play St. Thomas in the opener. I feel like those are the strongest 2 teams, so we'll see what we got on Friday. But they're also going to play Portland and Fullerton while they're in Portland.
that was Northern Colorado. Let me get those highlighted there.
Yes,
There you
yeah, the
go. Northern
Bears.
Colorado, St. Thomas at Portland, and there we go.
Yep. So that's a tough order because they'll have to play the true road game on day 2 after the St. Thomas test.
Yeah,
At
and
least
we've got,
they get a day off the following Wednesday when they go to Air Force.
well, I don't know.
That's
That's a
nice.
front range game. Oh man,
It is a
Sold
rivalry
out.
game.
Sold
sold
out.
out. Yeah.
Rocco's going to be helicoptering in. Big South
Hmm.
Conference, Rocco.
Oh
High
boy.
Point. They did have that loss to UAB. They bounced back by demolishing Canisius. I still think this is one of the best under the radar teams in the nation, regardless of
Yeah,
who they
they are.
play.
Their upside is through the roof, and when they're clicking like that, just the fact that they're able to beat a Division 1 team. I know Canisius is struggling as a program, but to be able to beat a Division 1 team by 40, that's what the net was designed for. And you're only supposed to be a power school to be able to do that. Well, High Point performs like those power schools, and that's crazy. And I think the other crazy thing is how good this veteran Winthrop team is, even though they're only
Yeah.
2-3. A very controversial call that if it wasn't called, Winthrop was in position to get maybe the biggest under the radar win of the year at Arkansas last night. But Winthrop, even in the strange loss at Coastal, it was only by 6. They also played very hard in another loss, and they've been good in their wins. I think, Winthrop and High Point, definitely the two to beat here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rock. Because I mean, on the surface, the 2-3 isn't that impressive, but to play the way they did against George Mason, and
Yeah,
this was a
George
team
Mason
that with less, was it less than a minute to go? They had
had
a
the lead.
5 point lead, and like it was 3 defensive stops and 3 conversions on Arkansas, and then we saw 2 players get tangled up. I think they assessed a double technical, and then Winthrop had a shot at the end to win it, but like you want to credit
Frustrating.
Arkansas for because they had to play the perfect final minute to win the game and escape. But this was an impressive showing by Winthrop, and you start to look at the way their schedule plays out. I think they can go to Nebraska and win. Tim Miles isn't there anymore. Uh, I
Good
think
point.
that if they play the way they did against Arkansas and at George Mason, I think they're going to take down the Huskers.
Now, I got to say, having watched the play and the replay multiple times, I think the officials officiated it correctly,
I do
giving a
too. Oh yeah,
double technical. I mean, it was not intentional at all. I don't think that he pulled
no.
the Arkansas
It was
player
a
down
tough
on
one.
top of him, but he had his arms around his neck, did not want to let go of the ball. You're not allowed to make contact to the head or neck of another player. That is a flagrant foul. And of course, the retaliation afterwards was properly a technical foul on the
Yeah,
Arkansas
I
player.
actually thought the referees in particular, but the players in the surrounding area, I think everybody, other than perhaps the 2 guys that were involved, understood that they got inadvertently tangled up and that they needed to get them apart. And once that got them apart, it was over.
And the
I
biggest
don't. I
mistake,
think way too much was made of it.
well, the biggest mistake was multiple players from each
Agreed.
bench coming out to the court too, and they were all
Yeah,
deservedly ejected from the game. That's the rule.
yeah,
Uh,
because I think it was largely incidental.
it was, but I think they had to do what they did.
Oh, they did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
I,
just my take on it.
yeah.
Coming up this week, High Point is playing UIC, and then potentially Southern Indiana or Incarnate
Yeah.
Word in their event that they're in. mainline event by any means coming up this week.
And it's on one of
Boardwalk
those.
Battle.
What
Uh,
streaming service is that on? I'm not. These are
That's a
games I'm actually
baller game. That's a
okay.
baller TV
I
game. You're
don't
not
have a
gonna
bu-
want to. You're not gonna want a piece of that.
Do you want if you want to pay about $30, you can watch those two games.
I don't. They did not give us credentials, so I will be following live stats.
Winthrop is playing at Jackson State and at Nebraska, a chance against another power conference team next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Longwood. Oh my God! After getting such a good win against James Madison, did not look good at all yesterday.
Double overtime heartbreaker in Farmville.
Yeah.
Uh, Griggs, over in the Big West Conference here, uh, maybe we start off at least with UC San Diego, who is undefeated, and maybe even talk a little Irvine and UC, Irvine as well, though they are in a tight battle with Utah Valley as we record this.
Yeah, that's a really good game that's going on there. UC San Diego, I don't want to give faint praise, but because I think they are good. I think the reaction to their win at Fresno State was a little bit overblown. Fresno State is not very good. If anything, UC San Diego should have been expected to win that game, even though it was a road game. But I still think that they're a good team.
All
I
right,
still
they're
like the Eaters.
uh, uh, well. I guess it's a little. Maybe there's some information, Marco, we got to learn about the Eaters that we'll be learning tonight because, as I mentioned, as we record this, a game they should probably win at Utah Valley that they're struggling in. They did just come off the home loss to California Baptist as well. So they're not liking the whack this season.
Yeah, well, Utah Valley's a league game next year, so they join the
Yeah.
Big
Okay.
West next year. So it's a nice little preview for everybody. But I'll say this:
So does
Utah.
Cal Baptist.
That's correct. Utah Valley has only lost one non-conference home game in the last 4 years combined. So that is a brutal trip, no matter what. And I think Irvine's still trying to find themselves, as you've noted. They really struggled on the rebounds against Cal Baptist, getting out rebounded at home by 23. That just doesn't happen usually. So adjusting to life without the big 7-1 Bennett Loyston is going to take a little time. But I do think by the time we get to Big West play, Irvine's certainly going to be, as they always are, they're going to be a pain in everybody's butt and be very good. And also, Torian Lee's been out for Irvine. He was expected to be a starter this year. So dealing with some of that too. I do want to give a shout out to UC Davis, a nice road win at Nevada last night. It's a future Mountain West rivalry, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, Nils Cooper had a great game, 26 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, and I think UC Davis was the team in the league that I had the hardest time figuring out how good they're going to be. They have to replace, Ty Johnson and a lot of big names last year. They might be even better now. I feel like they're playing better as a team. Had that one slip up at Portland, but sitting nice at 4-1 so far. And last but certainly not least, especially this morning after what we saw Troy do to San Diego State, how about Northridge handling Troy on Sunday by 9? Really good win for the Matadors and for the conference.
This is just a good league. There's no other way to put it. If there was a Big West Mountain West challenge, the Big West would hold their own.
Take
Yeah,
take the Big West.
let's not
Yeah,
forget about Hawaii also here. Had just had
yeah,
a
Hawaii,
one
Hawaii.
point loss at Oregon.
best team in the league right now,
Yeah,
actually.
I love this Bose team. They were my dark horse team. I don't even know if you can call them a dark horse anymore.
They
They
have
had a
a
chance to win that game against Oregon. It was a sloppy game.
Oh yeah, they regret that one. They want that one
Yeah,
back. And
yeah.
right now, in the country, according to the Torvik data out there, Hawaii's got the ninth best defense in America. How about that?
Yeah, Ken Palmer has him at 28 on the screen there, which is pretty darn good to begin with.
Yeah.
Right. His
Torvik
his
has him even
stuff has
higher.
some. Yeah. The difference there is
He's
Ken
still
Palm has some
phasing out
the
previous.
preseason. Yeah,
Yeah,
preseason stuff. Yeah. This I'm looking at the just data alone, and Hawaii's ninth in the country.
Wow.
yeah.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Upcoming schedule for this week here in the Big West, and let's actually focus in on the Hawaii schedule. They get to host Arizona State, who's going to play
Yeah.
there on their way to the Maui Invitational coming up here tomorrow night.
You have to
And
like
then
Hawaii's chances in that.
Yeah.
and then you look at this game coming up Monday night. This is Hawaii Pacific's chance for the perfect season against D1 basketball.
Yeah.
What a game that's going to be Monday night.
Oh man, David Warlock will be tuned in. I'll promise you that.
Yes.
Also, UC San Diego this week.
We're we're going we're going to be lighting him up on Twitter during that game.
Good. Yeah,
UC San Diego's
keep him up all night.
Yeah.
UCSD is in that same event with Liberty and Vermont that we discussed earlier. Let's keep things rolling along here. Rocco, over to the CAA,
Yes.
uh, where I don't know that anybody to me has really stood out so far. I mean, William and Mary had a nice road win tonight at Bowling Green, which might be one of the better wins over the past week here of the conference.
I'm glad you brought them up, Chad, because
Mm,
I this weekend I'll be on my way to Jacksonville, Florida,
mm,
for the Jacksonville Classic. I'm only on the call for two of the games, but one of those next week will be the game between William and Mary and Abilene Christian. I'm excited to watch Coach Earl's system in motion, one of the most exciting offensive systems in the country. And yeah, I think if you just look at performance, William and Mary has performed. I mean, I think all of these teams already have warts. No bigger warts than Charleston. I mean, I think they've been a huge disappointment. Colby Duggan, though, one of their key players, transfer from Campbell, has not seen the floor yet. Continue to wait on his status. But right now, College of Charleston's really hurting the league. Towson had a little bit of a disappointing loss to JMU. I know it's a local rivalry game, but Towson expects a lot of themselves. We'll see how they do in that ESPN tournament coming up. And then Wilmington, I think, even though they do have the one loss at Kent State, can't really frown too much at that. That's a tough place to win. Wilmington will host their own tournament coming up soon with some decent teams coming to town. So I think it's a good chance for the Seahawks to get on track and maybe start taking advantage of the league. I think the other last spot we mentioned them earlier, and we don't know a lot about them yet, but I just think that Stony Brook playing as close as they did at Yale. I've got my eye on these Seawolves. They got some really interesting portal pieces led by Eric Pratt, who was a really good player at Milwaukee. I'm not sure how they pulled the resources together to get Mr. Pratt, but Rob Brown is there, and they also have a trio of sophomores led by Colin O'Connor. I don't know. This is kind of a squirrely Stony Brook story developing. I'm curious to see how they do as the weeks go on.
yeah, I think one of the key points here is what you made about Charleston, though. Yes, they've been disappointing, but when they
They've been
get healthy,
beat
they
up.
could be
Yeah.
they
I
could still
mean,
be very dangerous.
they are
Very dangerous.
without so many key players right now. Oh,
Uh,
I
up
mean, this is
upcoming
what
week this
I love the city of Charleston. We went out and partied and they just haven't recovered.
You can still
Wi-
party there for the Charleston Classic. It's right around
Yeah.
the corner, Griggs.
Yeah. I know.
William and Mary doesn't have much this week. UTEP, Abilene Christian, in
Oh,
their
come
event.
on. I'm there. I'm going to be there.
Okay, other than yeah, the Rocco's going to be there, but it's
I'm on the call for the Abilene Christian game
absolutely.
on whatever it's called. Pass the ball. Turn it on.
Absolutely. Save your money from Baller TV. Invest in Pass the Ball to listen to Rocco
Hey,
for the Bill and Mary games. Uh,
All right.
yes, yes.
the other teams we briefly mentioned here, UNC Wilmington, they've got the games at Radford and hosting Southeastern Louisiana there. Believe that's when they get into
Yeah.
their event. Um,
Yeah, they actually usually have some really good mids come there, but it didn't work out this year. Radford's been a really big disaster so far. Um,
They
Actually,
have been.
they're going to Radford on the road, so who knows? But their event will be Sela, Navy, and Gardner Webb. Really, the only test right now that I can see is the Navy game.
yeah. Speaking about a little bit of disappointing conferences here, Griggs. Here's the Horizon League, and
Yeah.
should we just
What?
skip over it?
Never.
No, never. There is a team I'd like to talk about.
You
Not
want
an
to talk? You want to
impressive
talk about
record.
Green Bay? What they did in Minnesota? We could do that if you want.
Actually, that actually warrants mentioning. Green Bay
Okay.
taking many to overtime and losing, in what is probably the most incredible coaching and
Heck
overall
yeah.
team performance of the Doug Gottlieb
What
era.
is probably the most damning indictment on Minnesota
Yes,
all season. Yes, go ahead.
yes. But I was going to talk about the Penguins, and I want to peel back the onion a little bit. The 1-3 D1 record, not that impressive, but the one win at Grand Canyon was a really good win. That St. Bonaventure game had something like 88,000 lead changes. It was back and forth, nip and tuck, just a very exciting game to watch. The Toledo game did get away from them, but of the four D1 opponents that they've played, I've been really impressive with the effort in at least three of them. And they won at Grand Canyon. They really had a chance to win at St. Bonaventure, and then Pitt, they were in there. for a. I've been more impressed with the Penguins than I have with any other team in the league so far.
Well, they got Greensboro, Georgia Southern coming up in their event, and then
Hey, that's Jacksonville. We will be there.
Jackson. Are you on the call for any of those games?
No, I am not.
Okay.
But I'll be there. I'll be watching from the suite with the owners of the tournament, Chad.
Right. Chicago State, Wright State at IUND. Somebody called Thiel,
Oh
Thiel
man.
maybe. Who knows? Uh, yeah.
I would say
Uh,
that Oakland, their four losses are, I mean, the Purdue game was tremendous. They played their butts off. They almost beat UCF, lost by four.
Yeah,
But for a team Oakland's level, they deserve some praise. Their losses are Michigan, Purdue, Houston, and UCF. So when they start playing teams their weight class, like that tournament at Montana, Oakland's got a good chance to go in there and win that thing.
a game at
yeah,
Eastern
and
Michigan before they head
Oakland's
out there.
poised to have a big year.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think Wright State, even though they are falling short in these games, they played basically for the Greenbrier Championship on Sunday against Kent State. Kent State team that was widely expected to beat them, and they took them to OT. Tough loss, but they destroyed Radford in the game before that. And their other losses are Toledo and Cal. So I think Wright State has some primus on top of that.
They've got a non-D1 game in the game at Stetson coming up this week, so we're not going to learn much about Wright State this week, I don't think.
No,
Um,
taking it easy.
Rocco, over the Ivy League, uh, I know Yale lost the home game against Rhode Island. I'm not writing them
Yeah.
off by any means, though. I consider
No,
that a
no.
blip.
It's a blip, and I think Rhode Island was hungry. They keep having letdowns. That's a Rhode Island conversation, but Yale maybe they needed that. We'll see how they react. They're now down there on the islands where they're going to open up with Green Bay, that team we just talked about. So you better not slip up against Green Bay. I think Yale's the strongest team in the Paradise Jam. On the other side of the bracket, we do have Akron and Iona and Oregon State. If you missed our MTE special on Sunday, you can find it right here on Chad Sherwood's YouTube
yeah,
feed. Go back and watch. But I did pick Yale to beat the Beavers in the championship. I'm sticking with that regardless of the game yesterday. I think that's just a nice wake up call for the Bulldogs. And I thought Harvard tonight, Penn State, they were right there in the final
Ooh.
minute. Could have been a big upset for the league.
Yeah, the Penn Harvard have got a real shot against Penn State tonight. Unfortunately, they fell a little bit short.
Columbia's playing
Best,
well. I'll say too with new head coach Kevin Hovde. I mean their only losses against UConn. They've had New Haven, Lowell, and Boston U, and handled all of them pretty effectively. Like not any kind of nail biters in any three of those wins.
by the way, if you want that in-season tournament stuff, also, if you're on the website, check out that in-season tournament tab up there. There's a link in
yeah, it's
there
up there.
to that podcast as well as all those brackets.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's gonna be linked in the daily Hoops HD rundowns. So
as Rocco mentions, there's Yale's upcoming games, and if you want to take a look, Columbia they'll be at Lehigh hosting Longwood and at Fairfield this week. Uh, and how about Harvard at Boston College next Wednesday, Griggs?
yeah, a little beanpot action going on there.
Uh, yeah, after they play
Time,
BU on Saturday, so this is a big beanpot
Yeah,
week for
time to
Harvard.
stir that bean pot.
yeah. I love the beanpot. It's because it's Northwestern, it's Boston Harvard, of course, and then the non D1 Boston College team.
Griggs over in the Metro Atlantic, and we almost saw an amazing upset tonight. Mount St. Mary's had Maryland the majority of that game. Maryland found a way to force it to overtime and then found a way in overtime to pull out a win. But this would have been a hell of a story
Yeah,
for a Mount team that I
yeah,
don't think any of us looked at it seriously this season.
yeah. I don't know if we looked at them seriously, even by Metro Atlantic standards, much less getting a win at Maryland. Really good effort by Mount St. Mary's. They did have a chance to pull it off. Like, as Chad said, it wasn't until overtime that Maryland got it done. Um, but I think Iona is the story so far. If you kind of pull them up here, obviously like the 4-0 D1 record, but nothing really of huge importance. They had to sweat out for them, but they blasted Princeton, beat Hofstra. I don't want to say they blew them out, but I mean it was somewhat comfortable. And then they won decisively at Kansas City. I'm really anxious to see what they do in this game against Akron because I think that that's one of their tougher tests on a neutral floor against a pretty good Akron team. And I guess I'll have more of an opinion on them then. But I think they're the team that I have my eye on the most right now out of this league.
Yeah, Rocco, I think it's
Yeah,
hard to argue with that at this point.
I agree. I think it'll be interesting too because Iona's playing at such a blazing pace. Again, looking at Torvik data, just because it doesn't have any preseason baked in, they are the fourth fastest team, and I noticed they're playing primarily eight guys. So in a format like the Paradise Jam, you just wonder day two, day three, are they gonna go that fast, or do they have kind of a secret plan to get more into half court and execute that way. And we'll see. And I think Akron, we've seen time and time again when they get into track meets, they get into trouble. I was at that game last year when Milwaukee blew the doors off of them and scored 58 points in the first half. We saw what happened to Akron against some of the bigger schools, especially Arizona in the NCAA tournament. That game was over in about 5 minutes. So if Iona just plays it straight up without thinking about the other 2 days, I really like Iona in the matchup. But again, you might see a whole different strategy just knowing you've got to play those back to backs.
I guess the other little bit of a story that might be brewing here is Merrimack. We mentioned already that they just beat Maine tonight, coming off of a road win at BU. You know, hey, I think it's the only true road win that the conference picked up this. Oh, Quinnipiac also picked up a road win this week, but uh, you got to always like a road win in these conferences at this time of year.
You do. And Merrimack's so well coached by Joe Gallo. I just feel
He
like
is a good coach.
whatever seed they get, they're going to be the team you do not want to play in that conference tournament
Absolutely.
with all those
Uh,
zones and the way they can shoot. Yeah, it's a dangerous team for sure.
It, he is a good coach. I mean, as a bench coach, he's phenomenal.
there,
Absolutely.
there's Iona in their event, and there's games coming up. Merrimack this week, just one game. Griggs, just a little easy team called Florida on the road, right?
I think he's a good coach. I don't know if he's going to pull off that one. No, that would be.
uh, Mount St. Mary's, they're at Western Michigan and
Same
at
mission.
Ohio State.
Go beat Ohio State, please.
Oh my God! If they beat, oh,
They're owed one after tonight and after they had a 6 point lead at Cincinnati too at
yeah, they
halftime.
did. Yeah, I forgot that. I actually
Yeah.
watched that. Yeah. So
So
maybe there's
they're
something to the Mount
they're
this
flirting
year.
with a big upset. They got one more crack at it. Let's get it.
Yeah. No,
Here we
they
go.
had a lead all throughout the first half against Cincinnati. I totally
Absolutely.
blanked on
Absolutely.
that.
Hmm.
It was a coin flip for me, Rocco, today, whether Conference USA or the MAC was going to be our feature conference. I ended up going with CUSA in a close call, but the MAC is out to a great start as well, and there's multiple stories here that we could be discussing.
Yeah, and I mean I'm going to throw one at you that you're probably not expecting, but I did get
Miami, Ohio.
no, I got 3 great days in person with the Central Michigan Chippewas. I thought it
Okay.
was fascinating. They of course lost to South Alabama by two, but there is no way this team is finishing 12th like the poll projected them to be. In fact, they should be a top half team. Andy Bronkema comes from Division II Ferris State, brings three of his guys, brings a couple guys from Wayne State and a Wayne State coach, their main rival in that Division II league, and their players are just extremely intelligent, really good kids, really connected kids. And they stomped Coppin State in the next game. Again, that's probably nothing to pump your chest about, but you could just kind of see this team coming together, and I'm excited to follow them throughout the year. On top of that, I'll go to the obvious story, which is the Buffalo Bulls
Yes.
and Daniel Freitag. Not getting very much playing time at Wisconsin as a freshman, so he did I think the smart thing, at least for your sophomore year, go down a league to the MAC. And Buffalo, man, they really need a guy like this. And he is just tearing it up. Goes for 33 in the big win over Vermont. Was obviously one of the heroes against DePaul in their signature win. Buffalo is like a legitimately good team as well. And if I remember right, Buffalo and Central Michigan might have been the bottom two in the poll.
They were.
They could end up in the top five of this league.
Well,
Yeah,
Pretty
look at the
awesome.
remaining non-conference schedule for Buffalo here as well. I don't see a really difficult game here. The best
St.
team to play is the
Bonaventure.
Bonnies, but that's a home game. It's
That'll be a
part of the
great
Big Four.
atmosphere. Great
Maybe
atmosphere
maybe the game February 7th against the Sun Belt team in the sec to be determined is their toughest non-conference game left though.
because they have to
Yeah,
go on the road for that too. Yeah.
well, what they've done, I don't want to discount what they've done, but I'm also not going to proclaim them front runners. Sweating out
No.
Southern Miss, sweating out Green Bay. I don't know what RAT is, but it looks like they won that one. The win at DePaul, what was a good win. I know DePaul is DePaul, but I think that they're getting better. I think Chris Holtman's going to do a good job with that team. That was a really impressive showing. And then, they held on to beat Vermont. But another team that I want to talk about is the Miami Redhawks, who again
Right. Yep.
early in the year don't have the profile yet. The win at Air Force is nothing to beat your chest about.
It is nothing, period.
It is
That's
nothing,
it. And the
period.
statement after that.
Yeah, in Old Dominion, after what happened to Old Dominion yesterday, I'm starting to not value them as much. So they haven't really proven themselves yet, but I think they will. I
Yeah.
really think this is a good team. And
And
East, what's
Greg's very excited that Miami, Ohio, took our invitation. They're coming to Jacksonville for one game on Wednesday against Greensboro, so we'll get to see them live as well.
yeah, that's a good game. But you start to look at this schedule. A lot of games are winnable. They have a really tough
Hmm.
road stretch there going to Asheville, EKU, not going to be easy. Wright State probably not going to be easy. So I guess in that 4 game road stretch, we'll find out what they're made of. I still think this team can win the MAC, or I do.
Yeah, and it's a shame that they aren't playing any kind of big top 100 teams.
Well, yeah, like Charlie Coles used to like to go out and do the Dan Monson scheduling. I mean, they used to play
Everybody.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite this year.
Yeah.
And that's they could have a gaudy record, but I think to Chad's point, I think that's why you almost did the feature conference. Is the MAC is like turning it around. We clowned on them a lot last year. I think last year was the worst MAC I've seen in 20 years from top to bottom, and now a lot of the bottom has gotten better. The top is holding up strong. Kent State
Kent
won the
State's good. Yeah.
they just won the Greenbrier tournament. And Akron, you already know about Bowling Green for the most part of, besides today's loss, they've played a little bit better. And UMass has been pretty solid.
Yeah. And how about my dark horse team, Ohio? My sleeper team. They're still asleep.
They
Yeah, we're
lost to
not,
Bethune.
Yeah, they
but
did.
yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my God.
you've got some of these
Gracious.
key games
They're
here. We've
terrible.
already discussed the Akron Iona first round of that tournament as well. It's coming up. It's kind of
It's gonna
funny
be a
that
great
may
game.
end up being the best game of that entire tournament
Yeah,
as
I
one of the
think it
first
is.
ones.
It's
I think it is.
definitely the best game of the first day of the
Yeah.
quarterfinal games. Yeah.
Ohio's got an interesting game coming up against George Mason as well on Monday as part of
You
their.
They're
also you also
Ohio's
have Chad, you also have UMass in the same tournament playing Charleston. So you could see UMass play Akron on the final day in a
Yes,
MAC preview game.
little
yeah.
MAC preview. Uh, We're up to Rocco over in the MEAC. Well, we have two
Yes.
D1 wins of the season, one by Howard and one by, yes, the one and only Maryland Eastern Shore
How
with an
about
overtime
Eastern Shore getting a win?
double overtime win at Longwood, showing that maybe
Oh,
that Auburn game, maybe that Georgia Tech game was not a complete and total fluke.
My goodness. Yeah. I mean,
I could.
it,
That was stunning. Sorry, go ahead, Rocco.
no, I agree. Like it was two totally different types of games. That Georgia Tech game, nobody could score. They finished in the 50s after overtime. Last night they got up in the 80s, and I don't think Maryland Eastern Shore in any of their other games really went above 65. So they actually started making some baskets. 5 threes for Jaden Cooper. So that was a big difference. And I think, I don't know, with a lot of these MEAC teams, not just Eastern Shore, you're throwing, I mean, they played 12 guys in this game. And you just don't know on a given night when it's going to click, or maybe they're just going to not, they'll be a step slow and get down by 20. That's the difference between some of these margins and then some of these games flipping and actually being closer to them even being able to pull off the upset. So credit to Eastern Shore under Cleo Hill for doing this a couple of times already in the first 2.5 weeks of the season and getting one under their belt. That's big for the MEAC. I think outside of that, obviously I was with Coppin State last week. They fell short, but I thought they played really hard against South Alabama. We had a really good game there. And then eventually South Alabama in the last 5 minutes made it a 10-point win. But Coppin had a lead in that game. in the second half. So, and Coppin State, as Chad will tell you, is not even eligible for the MEAC tournament. So
Yeah.
that was actually their Super Bowl game.
You see
Yeah.
them in red there, not eligible for any type of postseason, not even a conference tournament. Yeah,
As per Chad got their SID out of bed to
I,
confirm that. Went to his house, woke him up.
Amazing.
quick note about on
Yeah.
Eastern
Hardest working
Shore.
guy in college basketball.
On
Yeah.
Eastern Shore, Rock, we mentioned they didn't get to 65 in any of the other games. They didn't even get halfway there against Georgia. With only 29 points,
Right.
which was the
29
game
points.
after that Georgia Tech game. That was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. They haven't even been above 52, and then all of a sudden they put up 83 at Longwood.
Let's take a look. Eastern Shore. This is the most we've talked about them, I think, ever. They're at
Ever.
Canisius,
Yes.
Binghamton, and hosted Hampton.
Those are winnable. Maybe all of those are winnable. Canisius is terrible. So's Binghamton.
Well, that's actually the Canisius tournament. So they're going to
Yep.
play Binghamton at Canisius.
Oh,
Yes.
What an MTE. That's the
yeah,
dream MTE.
that is
That's a Zach special.
that is Zach Singer's MTE.
Anybody in Buffalo, New York that goes to the Eastern Shore Binghamton game in Canisius on
On Saturday.
Saturday needs to give us a call, give us
Yes.
a shout out.
Oh, we will put you
are a
on the
hero.
show.
You are our hero.
If you
you
can
spend-
demonstrate that you were actually there, we will put you on the show.
If you spend your Saturday watching Binghamton play Eastern Shore on at Canisius, that is a
Yes.
huge statement about who
Yeah.
you are as a person.
I want to drive to Canisius now.
You should get in the car.
Oh God! Let's just Griggs. Let's go to the Missouri Valley Conference here. Northern Iowa, Belmont both out to undefeated starts. Murray State out to a good start. Valpo's
Belmont
there.
looking real good tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Belmont is up in the second half here over Lipscomb by double figures. And
Yeah.
Bradley is now leading Lowell. It looks like they're going to win that game. We mentioned that earlier when we
Yeah.
talked to Little
Yeah,
Marquise.
Lowell
So-
can't have nice things.
Yeah. I still like Northern Iowa. I like Belmont. No one in this league has really popped. And by that, I mean, no one is anything other than what we thought they would be really early on, minus maybe one exception. I don't know what about Rod Eshon's UIC team? They look pretty.
Decent.
It looks like they're going to have a much better year than what I thought, based on the little sample size that we have.
They took Oregon State on the road
They
to the
did.
final minute, lost by
Yeah.
3. Also struggled with Chicago State though too. So I just don't know.
Yeah, Chicago State is one of the better teams in the country.
And in the next 24 hours, we're going to see this team play High Point. So I think that will,
Yeah.
if they can keep up with High Point, I think that'd be a good statement for UIC.
Yeah. But it's been, I don't know if there's someone, if you can say that it's been chalky so far, but it has been. And I still like Northern Iowa. I think Belmont, I think Murray, their only
Yeah,
loss was at
Murray's very
SMU,
good.
and they competed in that game. I don't want to brush through this league, although I don't know what else other to say about it, other than that the teams that we thought would be good have been good. The biggest surprise is maybe Valpo, but I mean they've played a very weak schedule.
Yeah, the win tonight at Cleveland State by double digits, not expected. So that's a good
Yeah.
win for the Valpo level. I would say the other story in the league is, I guess, the disappointments. Illinois State was picked by a lot of people off season, 2 all-conference players back. They went out to LA with a great house money opportunity, obviously a little bit of a long trip, but they were never competitive with USC. And then
Not
they
even
turn around and play
remotely.
Long Beach, and they almost lost to Long Beach. And Long Beach is at a point in the program where they're just hoping to get into the Big West tournament.
I mean,
But they got the win, so I can't be too harsh on them. But I just think performance-wise, they've been a disappointment. But we'll see what happens. There's a long way to go for Illinois State. There's a long way to go for Drake, who I think others would tell you is a disappointment. Already 2 by home game losses to SIUE and Robert Morris. But they bounced back on Monday and got the road win at also struggling Charleston. So there's still hope for pretty much everybody in the league, and that's all you can ask for.
yeah.
Upcoming this week, a few of the games here. Northern Iowa at Irvine. Definitely
yeah,
one
and-
worth circling there.
And Chad, the other game I'll be on the call for is the Southern Illinois UAB game on Monday. That will be their second game. They are playing Delaware on Sunday in Jacksonville.
All right. So you got their
That's
better
a
game
great.
too.
That's a really good game. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta get a Valley game. Come on now.
Yeah.
Southern Illinois, after that, they're going to Memphis also. So, if
Yeah.
Southern Illinois has
Yep.
anything this year, this could be a big week for them. Uh,
That's why we
most,
had to put them on Sunday. We got to get them out to Memphis.
mhm. Most importantly, Belmont will be hosting Fisk here on Friday night. And Griggs, you're going to be tuning into that one.
I will not be. I will be going to Canisius.
You're right. Well, maybe you can watch. Well, that's Friday, so you can watch that Friday night in the hotel
Oh,
room
okay, yeah. All right, yeah.
before the game, along
And
with Butte.
Belmont leading Lipscomb in the Battle of the Boulevard by 12 into the second half now.
Yeah,
Well into the
which is
second
a
half.
blowout by Battle of the Boulevards.
I've actually got under 2 minutes left, so that game looks like it's probably going to be over here.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Uh, Griggs, little Northeast Conference time here, and LIU continues to be the story here.
Yeah, Central Connecticut, we covered that last week, the big win against Boston College, but LIU is the story. Some of the teams have done a little bit better than what I had expected, albeit not many of them. Uh, but no one, I don't think, has looked as good as LIU. I think it's going to be their conference to win.
The only story I see here is that I'm shocked that New Haven already has two D1 wins after the win
They
over
do,
Delaware
yeah.
State this week. Not that they beat anybody
Yep.
of real note, but
Well, yeah, they won at Lowell and beat Delaware State, and at least they've beaten somebody. As a transitional team, that's pretty good.
yeah, I mean, this conference is great fun when you get to conference play. I think
Oh, it's awesome.
it doesn't deserve. We unfortunately don't have too much time to give it a lot of love now.
Download NEC Front Row right now. It's free download. Good
LIU
stuff.
this week.
Yeah.
Mercyhurst with the top 100 defense right now, and if they can keep that going, they'll be in a lot of games. They
Yeah.
did they couldn't make any baskets against Canisius, and they lost in the 50s, but they they bounced back with the big win over Morgan State by 14.
So some road tests. Mercier's tomorrow night at Miami, Ohio.
That'll
LIU's
be
at
a test.
Fordham. LIU's also at Illinois and at Missouri State coming up here.
That
LIU
Long
might
Island Fordham, that LIU Fordham game tomorrow might be kind of fun.
It's going to be
uh,
huge.
the
Yeah,
LIU Illinois game will not be.
yeah, the LIU, that one will not be fun, but
Everybody wants a piece of Fordham in the city while they can get them.
yeah,
Chicago State and Iowa coming up here tomorrow night as well. And my Scarlet Knights hosting Central Connecticut on Friday.
Could be
yeah,
dangerous. Could be
Could be.
dangerous.
I'm a little worried. I'm seriously, I'm a little bit worried about the game.
yeah.
They already got BC.
Uh, Rock over in the Ohio Valley Conference. UT Martin did suffer their first loss, the game at Florida State, but they were in it most of the way.
Yeah, I mean it was a 3-point game at half. Florida State a nice run to open the second half, and that was pretty much all she wrote. But Tennessee Martin was executing really well in the half court. I thought they did a great job rebounding off of long misses, staying organized, really good spacing. Florida State, obviously a much more elite team, plays so similar to UT Martin, so that was I think, just a really tough matchup. But from all the times I've turned on UT Martin, which was the Bradley win for a bit, and I saw a lot of the UNLV win on their opening night game. I really think this UT Martin team so far is pretty real. I don't
Yeah, I do
see
too.
like any kind of fluke happening here.
I don't think it was a fluke at all. I just think they're unexpectedly good.
Yeah,
There wasn't much, you know, preseason love for them, but I think part of
not
that
at
was
all.
so many international players, the voters and the prognosticators, myself included, just aren't familiar with international players until they get here. Martin is good. I was really big on SEMO. I still think they're good by comparison to the rest of the league. But
Edwardsville
Martin
too.
has been the team that has impressed me the most, and it's not even close. It-
Right.
Edwardsville did get that nice win at Drake.
yeah.
Last
So
Friday.
so
Yep.
And the league's showing out a little bit. I had lamented about how it has turned itself into a 16 seed more often than not. This year, I don't think it is. I mean, I guess it could be if
Depends.
yeah, depending on how the conference tournament plays out. But the teams at the top of the standings, Martin in particular, they're not going to be 16 seeds.
I think Mars should be heavily favored to win this event here, where they got Prairie
Yeah.
View in either Southern Miss or North Florida, and then a non-D1 game. SU Edwardsville
Be interesting.
has a road bye game at Air Force coming up on Friday
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
and then maybe a slightly interesting game. I think actually Air Force's event that they're playing maybe against Alabama
Yep.
State on
Yeah,
Sunday.
it's the MTE. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Alabama State Air Force played tonight.
2 point game.
A two
Yeah.
point game.
And
Alabama State
Alabama
had a
State beat UAB already, so that could be
yeah,
a live wire Alabama State team that I want to
yeah,
talk
it
about here in a
is.
minute when we get to the SWAC.
Yeah,
I also think SEMO is still going to be tough.
I
They've
do
just
too. Yeah,
the way their schedule set up. They've had to go to St. Louis, Missouri, and Iowa, and then they had a home opportunity loss with St. Thomas, also a good team.
that was rough.
And now
Yeah,
they're going to go to this Northern Arizona tournament. Well, they'll have two more tough games with a neutral court game at Flagstaff versus Cal Poly. No shame if they lose that. And then, of course, against the Lumberjacks on Wednesday. But even if SEMO is 0-6 versus D1 leaving that tournament, I'm not writing them off at all.
Rocco, over in the Patriot League here,
hmm
um, I
Jalen Cox, half court
okay,
shot
yes. Oh, the
to beat
Colgate Siena
Siena.
game. What a game that was. That was
oh
a
my
fun
gosh.
game.
Yeah,
Best game of the week so far. Well, best finish of the week by far. Banks in a half court shot to beat Siena, who was previously unbeaten, by the way. I think that's a huge confidence booster for Colgate. Not the half court shot per se, but obviously the way they played for the full 40 minutes to even be in the position to win. This is a team that we saw lose to Michigan State and Illinois, no shame, obviously, and then a tough home loss to Northeastern in the first weekend. But now they've beaten Drexel and Siena. We're starting to get signs, Chad, of the old Colgate that we missed last
yeah.
year.
Starting to get signs. I think that the league in a whole, though, is giving me a sign of a trip to Dayton for whoever wins it so far. So,
Yeah. What
Probably.
about Navy? They were a team I was really big on coming into the year. I don't want to say
Still
they've
playing pretty
been
well.
too
Yeah.
yeah, they've played pretty well.
They hung in there with North Carolina last night.
Yeah.
Only lost by 12, and Penn State was a 9 point loss. I think they're only,
I thought they should have I thought they were going to go beat Penn State. Maybe Penn
yeah.
State's a little better than I thought. I don't know.
But they've lost to Yale, Penn State, and North Carolina. I mean, really no
Yeah.
shame in any of that.
yeah, so some games that we'll find a lot more about them. NJIT, who's had a little bit of life this season, and Gardner Webb coming up, for example. But rest
I
of the
guess I
upcoming
sh
schedule this week.
Yeah, I don't know what the schedule is for UTR next week, but if I don't make it, I did want to mention Lehigh is coming to the Las Vegas event that I'll be on the call for. Lehigh
Yeah.
versus UC Santa Barbara next Friday, and then win or lose, they'll play Seattle University or Texas State. Looking forward to seeing Lehigh in person.
Awesome. Uh, Griggs over in the SoCon,
Ooh, ooh.
uh, where just let's see, wasn't there a big win tonight? Maybe there wasn't. Western
Not
Carolina beat Asheville. Chattanooga with a road win, but was at South Carolina State.
Wofford got to win.
And Wofford picks up a win over North Florida. But
nice one. Yeah.
how about, I mean, East Tennessee State, off to a 2-1 start against D1.
Yeah, it hasn't been hugely tested yet. I think their next two games I think are pretty winnable in a home MTV event, so they're probably going to jump to 4-1. Yeah, I guess anything Sanford being 3-3 and having some really solid efforts despite all of the changes that they've gone through. I kind of thought they were going to wither away into nothing, and they're still showing
I'm
some
going
signs of
to.
life.
I'll take issue. I mean, they picked up a pair of road wins. They're both in overtime against teams that are not that great in Texas Southern and Central Arkansas
Yeah,
this week.
didn't they
So
battle somebody though? It was it. I almost said A&M, but that's not who it was. I thought they.
it was
How about
they the
Yeah, it
game
was
against
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Yes.
Yeah, okay. But
how
everybody
about
seems to be doing that these days.
How about Western Carolina, the big rivalry crosstown win over UNC Asheville? Those two schools are only, I think, 7 miles apart. I'm pretty sure they've never met in the NCAA
They
tournament.
never.
And, Western Carolina had a really rough year last year.
I
And they
did
sure
not know
did.
that those two schools were that close.
Yes. Well, I only know that because the year when COVID shut our season down, I flew into Asheville and drove to East Tennessee State for a great SoCon game. But when I got in my rental car, the first sports station I found on the radio was the Western Carolina Sports Radio Network, and I realized that Coolowee was not far from me. Anyway, they do a great job down there. It's a
Yeah, they
beautiful
do.
area in
I've
the
been
Smoky
both
Mountains.
places. I didn't realize they were 7 miles apart.
It could be 10, but I'm
I
gonna go
think
with
they're a little further
I,
than seven,
Yeah,
but it sounds
we're
good.
counting it. They
yeah,
play each other every year. It's a big deal regionally. They were talking about it on the radio that one day I was there. Anyway, with Western Carolina going 8-22 and finishing 338th in the country last year, this is a big deal to beat a very good Asheville program. And now they've won three in a row, and they started with Cincinnati and Duke. I thought Tim Kraft did a great job in the transfer portal, picking up the 7-footer Fanta Kaba. I'm not gonna pronounce his first name, but like, how many 7-footers are at this level? Not many. That was really, really big. And they've got some playmakers in the backcourt. Cord Stansbury playing very well so far as well. So I think Western Carolina is a nice little dark horse for this league.
Absolutely. Upcoming this week here in the SoCon, that Western Carolina team, if we're going to keep following them, they've got a tough test at Lipscomb coming up on Saturday.
Part of the
yeah,
East
challenge.
Tennessee
Yeah.
State hosting Moorhead and hosting Louisiana Monroe.
yeah.
I
Should
guess,
win both of them.
That's their tournament actually. So you'll
yep.
Yeah,
see those two teams play each other in Johnson City as well.
And Chattanooga hosting North Alabama here on Saturday.
that's a good
Uh,
game.
Yeah, North Alabama shorthanded, but
Yeah,
Chattanooga's trying to find themselves.
Also, don't overlook this Queens Furman game on Sunday either. Furman
Furman's another
trying to get that first D1 win.
Furman's really struggle
yeah,
bus, and even Sanford dropping that game at home today, man.
yeah.
SoCon is really in trouble
It
so far
is.
this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, not performing at anywhere near the level that it typically does.
And
Uh,
VMI's best player, Ricky Bradley Jr., preseason SoCon Player of the Year, still yet to see the floor, and I'm not getting any straight answers on why. But yeah, problems everywhere, even at VMI, so that's not good.
uh, Griggs over in the Southland Conference. McNeese is winning all the games but one. SFA out to a 4-1 start, but it's a
Yeah,
little team that's 2-2 that has been the story in this conference this season.
yeah.
How about them Privateers?
Well, yeah. I'm going to defer to Rocco on this one because he's the one that sort of tuned me into them. But like all the money they've spent, they've got Master P as the president of basketball operations. I don't know what that is, but I still like to think of it as being the same as the director of basketball ops, which means Master P is ordering pizzas and making hotel reservations and booking bus tours and things like that. But the
That's why I
two,
can't get a hold of him. He's always at Domino's picking up the pizza.
yeah.
Mhm.
No home games yet. But they did have the wins at Tulane at TCU. I was a little surprised that they went to Pepperdine and didn't win. I was kind of expecting them to win that game and to play a little bit better against LSU. They don't come home until December 6th. They've got four more road games, and three of them are impossible.
Yeah, their entire non-conference schedule being road games.
It's all
I
about the money.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say that, well, so the interesting thing is, I think Stephen F. Austin, New Orleans are off
Uh,
to great starts
They are
overall.
SFA is wow. They are looking good.
Yeah, just a really brutal finish last night. They let Fresno score the last 7 points to blow a 5 point
Yeah.
lead and take their first loss. And the interesting thing is, New Orleans and Stephen F. Austin are just switching spots on Friday. So now New Orleans is going to go to Fresno. They'll need a bounce back win there. And SFA is going to Pepperdine. They'll need a bounce back win there. It's a fun little Southland West Coast exchange program as part of a travel tournament. So we'll see how they bounce back on Friday. Really, it's all about how you respond. And New Orleans last week, just to kind of finish the thought on them, had that unfortunate 35-point blowout to supremely athletic LSU, but they turned around and they had their other big game locally at Tulane, and they beat them by 22 points. I mean,
Yeah.
when this New Orleans team gets a chip on their shoulder, it is something to behold. And I like, the rest of the league hasn't gotten the big wins outside of McNeese and Stephen F. Austin, but I do think there's a lot of potential at Lamar. Incarnate
yes.
Word is really invested. Corpus Christi is very well coached. And so we'll see. There's still a lot to come. I think Houston Christians also invested a lot too. Haven't seen much from them yet, but you probably will at some point this year.
Yeah, I think keep an eye on this Lamar team's a team that I think at the end of the day may be right there with everyone else.
Yeah.
A little
SFA
early to
did blow
discuss
it
that.
yesterday, but yeah.
We mentioned those
Yeah,
SFA,
SFA
and
should still be undefeated. They should be in our top 10, but
Yeah.
they blew it.
Yeah, they do.
There's the SFA, the Lamar, the New Orleans games coming up here. New Orleans at Mississippi State and then at Texas Tech. So they better win this game at Fresno. They're not going to have a chance for a win for a little while after this.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the big dog of the league, McNeese, of course, playing in that event I mentioned earlier. And what an opener, Sunday versus George Washington. That's going to be must
Woo!
watch.
That's going to be awesome.
oops, we lost the screen. Let me get
And
that
then they
screen
get
back.
Murray on Monday. I mean, this is going to be
Yeah.
great for McNeese to get better.
George Washington, Murray, and then Middle Tennessee on Tuesday. Well,
Yeah.
you got to play 3 games. So, but
Mhm.
You're going to find out what you're made of down there in the caves.
Rocco, over in the SWAC, we hinted at it here. I really think the story of this conference so far has actually been Alabama State. They failed by 2 points at Air Force tonight, but
Ooh.
they've shown more life than anybody in this league. Anybody outside of Bethune-Cookman. I think those are the two stories make that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stories in the SWAC. I think
Yeah.
the SWAC across the board is much improved,
It
even from
is. Oh
they
my
made
God, it
progress
is.
last year as a league, and I think there's at least 7 or 8 good teams in the league this year. Alabama State, as you mentioned, Chad, first win ever at UAB of all those years of history in the same state. Just a really big deal for the Hornets to get that win. As John Anderson, the transfer from Queens, was tremendous that night. Of course, a lot of teams have clunkers and boulders, so give them a pass on the game on Monday. Could have had the game today. I know they'd love to have that one back, but some very
God,
entertaining
they
games.
led that whole game. I
I
mean,
know, I
yeah.
know. But IU Indy, one of the fun stories, plays Helter Skelter basketball. They play them Friday. That'll be fun to see. And then Edwardsville, who we just covered, also on Sunday while they're still in Colorado Springs. So they've been tapping the Rockies all week. They're going to continue to tap them. I think the other big story is Bethune-Cookman getting the win at Ohio tonight. Congratulations. We saw how close they were to beating Auburn on the road. We saw them only lose by 9 to Dayton. This is an extremely high upside Bethune-Cookman team that the media picked to win the league. We'll see how long things can stay together there. A lot of characters on that team that are older but have some troubled past. It's going to be fascinating to follow. The other team last night, I watched the entire game, double overtime.
Oh, I didn't
Some
know if you wanted to talk about it because that would have been painful for you as a Washington guy.
Oh my
No,
God,
it's okay.
Southern
Like
almost
I
took
was ready
down
to
the.
I was ready to celebrate for Southern. I mean, the way they played, they had earned the win several times over, but just couldn't put the Huskies away. Huskies, of course, shorthanded without Hans Steinbach and without Bryson Tucker. But I think the big story of the game for Southern was Terrence Dixon, really a guy that was seldomly used at Lamar and North Texas before that, and really hadn't done much even for Southern. Only scored 8 and 6 in the Arkansas Marquette games. Goes for 17 last night. Had 6 rebounds. Was just he was using Frank Kepnong in the paint, and they might have really found something in Terrence Dixon last night. It was his first major look against big time competition. Michael Jacobs is a great player. Southern was my pick to win the league out of all these great options. And I thought, they'll still learn from that game. It's too bad they didn't get the moment for their sake. But outside of that, man, we haven't talked about Jackson State, Grambling, Alabama A&M is going to be pretty good. Texas Southern's always feisty. So this league has got a bunch of good teams.
And we
Yeah, it's
got to
gonna be
give
fun when.
we got to give a shout out to Mississippi Valley State, who's been so down for so long, had so many shots out in
Oh my
Hawaii to beat
gosh,
Utah Tech, double overtime loss, and they were in their game against Manhattan the next night after
Manhattan,
after that.
Yeah.
So
right?
I think Mississippi Valley is not going to go over this conference or only 1 or 2 wins in this conference. They may win 4, 5, 6 games this season. They've definitely shown more life than they have in
Yeah.
probably about 6 or 7 years, honestly.
And if you're not
And
following
Florida
them on
A&M.
Twitter, you are missing out. It is just social media gold.
I think Florida A&M might be the team that could finish in the bottom, but we'll see.
Bethune-Cookman this week has Jacksonville and either Stony Brook or Pacific. We mentioned the Alabama State team. Mentioned the IUND, SIU Edwardsville. Also, a trip to New Mexico on Wednesday.
And
Of course, the
Bethune,
game.
and just a reminder, Bethune-Cookman 1 mile away from the Ocean Center, so
Yeah,
they got a real chance to get some more wins down the street.
And Greg, you're going to be watching College of Biblical Studies at Texas Southern next Wednesday night.
absolutely, yes.
Uh, Greg's over in the Summit League here. Uh, First of all, a quick shout out to St. Thomas. Score's
Yeah.
not even the screen right now, but as we record this, they're at a close game at UTEP. But of course,
At you,
It's St. Thomas of Texas. That's got a real shot to beat UTEP right now, which is not a good sign for UTEP, and not
no,
the St.
if it
Thomas
were
in this conference.
the St. Thomas from this conference would be winning easily, I think. Um, but yeah, the Tommies might be one of the bigger stories in the conference so far. I mean, the Yotes off to a pretty good start, but North Dakota State and St. Thomas are the teams that I think I've liked the most.
Yeah,
Nice win at SEMO, sweat it out Army a little bit. I don't. I've just been kind of impressed with them, and it put up a big fight, nice fight at Wazoo. This is a team that, again, is a recent transitional team hitting the ground running and has a chance to win the league.
I'll tell you what, Griggs, I give him a real good shot to beat St. John's in December. Of course, it's St. John's of Minnesota, but
Yeah,
since we're talking teams from the wrong states, we might as well throw that in there.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that's an old D3 rival, isn't it?
uh,
One of
North
the teams
Dakota,
that threw them out of the conference.
North Dakota State really is the other story, though, Rocco. They had just that close loss at Oregon State to start the season, and do have a couple wins already under their belts.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sorry, Chad. Can you say that one more time? I
North
missed
Dakota
part of it.
State.
Yeah, North Dakota State. Yeah, they played well in the game against CSUN. That was one that I was watching
Mhm.
later in the week. Or sorry, that was about a week and a half ago. 22-point win, and then Southern Illinois, the one that you just mentioned. I did catch that part of it. A game where North Dakota State controlled it, very high scoring, very high tempo, exciting brand of basketball. Damari Wheeler Thomas playing good ball himself. 24 points, 4 assists, shot it very well, very efficient. In fact, I'm a little surprised that Dave Richmond's got the Bison playing so efficient this early. They typically struggle in non-conference and really hit their stride during league play, but they do have a bunch of tests still to come. So maybe the record won't be that great by the time we get there. They have Jacksonville State at Arkansas State's tournament on Wednesday of next week, and then they will play the Red Wolves on their floor a couple nights later. But later in the schedule, they go to Drake. They go to, I guess it's Bakersfield. They should be able to hang with, and then they're in the Sun Bowl event where they open with Irvine right before the holidays. So North Dakota State, though, I think they like their roster a lot. I talked to them a lot in the summer. I think they'll be right in it for the race for the top.
Yep. And of course, St. Thomas this week. They are going to be playing the event in Portland,
Yep,
Northern
Yeah,
Colorado, Cal State
good
Fullerton,
opener.
then a game against Portland.
yeah.
Uh,
So that's a good event.
Yeah, it's a good opener too. Like I think those two teams are really going to be in the mix for the Summit slash Big Sky races.
Yep.
Yeah,
Rocco in the battle to see who gets seated where in the Stairway to Seven over in the Sun Belt
Yes.
Conference. I think the story here, for me at least, fresh off a nice road win at Jack State tonight, this South Alabama team.
Yeah, our showdown at St. Pete champions continue to play well. That was a game where they were in a hole, went on a late 11-0 run to take the lead. Amazing win. I think Jacksonville State's really good, very well coached, especially for that Conference USA Sun Belt level. And they've squeaked out a bunch of wins now. Don't forget they were sweating out Alcorn State on the fourth night of the season, down by one in the final minute, and they win by six. They, like I said earlier, a 2-point win over Central Michigan, a tough test from Coppin. So they're just, that zone defense is getting them to get the opponents to shoot tons of threes, make them uncomfortable, and eventually make their move and win the game. They've got a bunch of good kids on the team. They haven't hit their peak yet. This is an awesome start to the season. They got to go to UAB on Friday, though.
Hey, Alabama State won there.
That's correct. Yes, they
yeah,
did.
Uh,
But Troy, the other big story, right? After the big win at San Diego State, what a big win for this conference.
yeah.
Troy playing four straight Southern California games, had lost the first two to Loyola Marymount and Cal State Northridge. No better way to bounce back than beating the hardest team of the trio. Survived a three, no, I mean not three-quarter court, but definitely beyond half court,
Yeah, it was beyond half court. Like,
well beyond. Yes, go ahead, David.
well, I was just going to say this was one of the more exciting college games of the young season so far.
mhm.
It was tied at halftime, tied at the end of regulation after a ridiculous beyond half court shot. And when you thought, I mean, this was the show. I mean, it is the San Diego State one of the harder places in the country to go and win. And when it like when that went in, you went from thinking Troy had this wrapped up to San Diego State's not just going to win, but they're going to pull away in the overtime. But Troy just went with them punch for punch for punch all the way down. What an exciting game. And it was on the Mountain West Network, and my feed kept freezing up.
Well, of course, because the Mountain West Network is,
Yeah.
that belongs below under the radar. But
Yeah.
uh, I've had problems with the Mountain West Network all season.
Yeah.
We could do a whole show on that. We're not going to. But
Yeah.
Mountain West, you
It's the
got to
new,
figure out your streaming.
Yeah,
yeah.
use my recommendation there for the audience and for both of you is to use Microsoft Edge if you have it. Do not use Google Chrome. I've never had an issue
Chrome.
with
Yeah.
Edge. It's a Chrome problem, I think.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right because I use Chrome. That's when I have the problems. When I stream it on my phone through their app, no problems at all. So
Yeah,
I've
when
been
I
watching
when
on
I
my phone.
use the apps on my
There you go.
TVs, it's fine, or Apple TV, but it's just
It's a Chrome thing, I think.
yeah,
Yep.
Upcoming this week, South Alabama. We mentioned their game at UAB. That's in fact their only game coming up this week.
that's a
Uh,
good
while
game. Yeah.
while Troy, they're playing at USC, and then they got Toledo and either Belmont or St. Francis coming up in their event. So
I'm going to go with Belmont. Well, Belmont's going to win that game. I don't know who's going to win the other one.
Yeah.
uh, Belmont versus St. Francis. Yeah, I think Belmont's got a decent shot against St. Francis. Griggs, last major conference here, the WAC, and
And
California
we've got a story.
Baptist.
Yeah, we have a story brewing here. This California Baptist team is no joke. Pull them up. 4-0 on the year. Um, the win at UC Irvine, which it's hard to go there and win, and then decisive wins, albeit in, I guess you wouldn't call those home buy games because I don't know if they bought them or not, but
Well,
the
the
equivalent of.
Riverside game is actually the Riverside game. Not only is it a rivalry, I believe it was actually technically part of one of the many MTs for this year.
Yeah.
Also, it counted for two different things. But
And they have some tests coming up. I think they're good enough to compete in some of those games, not against BYU, but maybe I mean maybe in some of the other ones they can. I'm just a big fan of this team, eligible for the NCAA tournament for the first time this year, and they've looked to me better than anyone else in the WAC so far.
this is their first year. I think this might be their second or third year eligible, actually. But
Is it?
either
Oh, okay.
way, either way, they've never made one before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really
I,
think
I
that
could be wrong on that. Yeah.
they are the story there. We can confirm that here before we're done. But uh, and I guess the other smaller story here, Rocco, is just as we've been recording this, Utah Valley with the win over UC Irvine.
Yeah, and I mean they mostly controlled the game throughout. Again, like I said during the Big West part of the show, Utah Valley extremely good in non-conference games, obviously traveling into altitude. One of the hardest things you can do in college basketball, especially here in the West. And Jackson Holcomb, really good game. 12 points. He had 12 rebounds to go along with those 12 points and another 5 assists, 3 block shots, 3 steals. I mean, Holcomb did everything in this game. But they have some nice pieces. Utah Valley, I think, was close to the unanimous pick to win the league. Obviously, as you guys did a great job covering, California Baptist is right there on their heels. So we at least have two very solid teams at the top of the WAC. I also think, UT Arlington's looked pretty good the last couple times out. They're 4-1. We know Tarleton's got the tricky zone. And as I've said before, Abilene Christian, I'll be on the call Tuesday against William and Mary.
Hmm.
Just a quick note. This season will be California Baptist's fourth season eligible for the NCAA tournament. Griggs, you weren't even close.
Man,
I
was
think
it
the
that long?
women's I think the women's has made it a couple times already.
Well, yes, they have.
Do
Yeah,
we
I
have
think.
to rub it in? Hey, winners! Hi.
uh, California Baptist hosted Grambling, playing San Diego on Tuesday, and and Utah Valley. They've got South Dakota State and Sanford coming up on this week. That concludes all of our regular conferences. Should we do a quick check in some mythical conferences?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Real quick
it's been a
here.
busy, busy week.
The Front Range Conference. We have had no games yet,
Got some coming up.
but we've got Denver, Colorado State, Northern Colorado Air Force, and Denver, Wyoming, all coming up in the next week here.
Yeah,
Uh, Denver could take a big lead in the conference standings if they could pick up a couple
yeah.
wins.
Or they
I
could
like
fall to
Denver.
you do? Can they win all three of those They
I
can
don't know
sit.
if they
Yeah,
can win all three of them.
I
Yeah,
don't think I don't think they can win the Northern Colorado Air Force game.
yeah.
That'd be a little
Colorado
tough.
State's playing too well. Colorado State's playing too well, but hey, maybe at Wyoming I don't know. It could be tough. But Denver's feisty. They're going to keep battling everybody.
In the Beehive Conference, the battle for the old bucket. We had a game already, a couple games already. First of all, Weaver State off to a rough start. Utah and Utah State have both defeated them already, and no games coming up this week. Back Range Conference, Arizona and New Mexico State out to the lead with that New Mexico State big win over New Mexico. This week, no games again.
Ouch.
Top Range Conference. Boise and Idaho out to leads here. Boise State that big win this week over Montana State. Uh, we didn't cover much of that. We actually did mention that a little bit about Montana State hanging in there with them.
Yeah.
Also, no
Idaho
games
has
this week.
that big win against Wazoo, keeping them up there. So
Mhm.
Boise State bouncing back with after the loss to Hawaii Pacific, now atop the top
The
range.
Hawaii Pacific game was not a conference game. It does not count
Yeah,
for this standings at least.
right.
Conference of Champions. How about that? This is a fairly crazy mythical league, but Washington, Oregon, and Arizona all tied for the league so far. With coming up this week, we've got a big Cal UCLA game on Tuesday to see if which one of those two teams is going to move into the tie. Actually, UCLA already lost the game; they can't move into the tie. How about some top 10 lists?
Okay, yeah.
Under the radar top 10 list for November 19th. We got a lot of honorable mentions. Griggs voted for about 300 teams this week, so that's why we have so many. Honorable mentions to Tennessee Martin, Yale, Iona, UC Irvine, South Alabama, McNeese, New Mexico State, Hawaii Pacific, still on our list, and Murray State. None of those teams making the top 10, though. So let's start at number 10 here. We've got Winthrop.
Yeah,
Wow.
really a couple really good showings this year, despite not quite getting the wins.
Yeah.
In the good game the other night against
Well,
Arkansas.
Griggs were them like number one, so that's why they got there, I think. But
Yeah,
Well done,
tied for
Griggs.
tied for eighth
yeah,
place, Buffalo and UC San Diego undefeated here. That's a nice
Interesting.
spot there for the Tritons. Number 7, California Baptist. We just discussed them.
yeah,
Hmm.
At 6, Miami, Ohio.
There we go.
yeah. Like that team.
Tied for fourth between Belmont and Western Kentucky.
Ooh.
Western
Yeah,
Kentucky, nice showing there out of our feature conference for the night. At number 3, High Point.
High
Despite
Points.
the
Yeah,
lights, still that's how good this team is.
yeah, they're real good.
At number 2, Northern Iowa
Northern
coming in
Iowa
there.
way up there. Wow.
Way up there
Yeah.
for Northern
I
Iowa.
thought I had them high, but somebody must have had them higher.
There we go.
Yeah.
And the number 1 team, probably no surprise. Out of our
Chicago.
feature conference, it is the Liberty Flames. That's it for our show. Let's do a little quick final thoughts. Rocco?
Yeah, final thoughts are on Elon and Marist. Two teams that are doing one side of the ball amazingly well and the other side horrifically horrible. Start with Marist, sixth best defense in America right now. If you took all the power conference teams out of the list, Gonzaga is the only one who's basically a power conference team that's better than Marist at defending. The problem, Marist, the 330th best offense, can't figure out a way to score, constantly stuck in the mud, but a team that nobody wants to play against. So if Marist can get a little bit of offense, Griggs did a great job talking about this during the Metro Atlantic portion of the show. They are going to win a lot of games because they're going to get a lot of stops. On the flip side, Elon, a top 30 offense, really executing well in both transition and in the half court. The problem, fourth worst defense in America. Can't stop anything. If they can figure out how to play some defense, we might have a real sleeper in the CAA. So just keep your eye on those two because at least they've figured out one side of the ball.
That'll be fun when they play William and Mary in conference play this season. That's a...
Oh my goodness. 200 points regulation.
Griggs, you want to fish the show out?
Um, I guess, yeah, I had two quick thoughts. One, I'll start with recapping something that we talked about, and it was just a crazy week of near upsets that involved under the radar teams, both upsets and near upsets. We've seen UT Martin show out. We saw Winthrop come very close to beating Arkansas. We saw Southern almost beat Washington. And I was starting to fear that college basketball was starting to trend more and more the way European soccer was, to where you essentially have a collection of 14 or 15 clubs, and of the 8 teams that make the quarterfinals of the Champions League, at least 7 and usually 8 come from that 15, and nowhere else can ever get close. I really hope it doesn't go in that direction. So whenever you see under the radar teams competing and winning against ranked teams and power conference teams, it's just great to know that we still live in a world where that can happen. I hope it never changes. My second final thought, we mentioned Hawaii Pacific briefly in the rankings. They lost to Alaska Anchorage in something called the Hawaii Alaska Challenge. And I want to know why I've never heard of this and why we aren't doing hour-long shows on this event.
Uh, I want to just say here once again, anybody that goes to Canisius this weekend for that game, uh,
Binghamton,
Binghamton versus what, Eastern Shore?
Eastern Shore.
This is Eastern
Eastern
Shore.
Shore
Give us a
in
shout
Buffalo.
out if you're there. Send us some pictures. We'll reach out to you. We'll be happy to have you on next week's show or future Under the Radar show just to
Yeah.
talk about that game.
Yes.
But on behalf of Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org, David Griggs, Rocco's over there, David's down there. I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll be talking to you again real soon.